What's up, Crowdfunding Nation? Salvador Briggman here, the host of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. And I want to start with a message because I think that for many people out there, it could have been a long road to get to this point in time. A long road with many obstacles and many naysayers. And maybe sometimes you even question or doubt yourself. And if that sounds like you're definitely going to want to listen to today's podcast episode. We spoke with a marketer and an entrepreneur who was able to crack the code on Kickstarter for being able to launch a product that sells at the $2,970 price point. That is right. If you've ever wondered, can you actually launch a campaign in a creative category for something like the world's smallest acoustic piano, raise more than $84,000 for that, and have people back at a high price point? That is the answer that I'm going to deliver to you in today's podcast episode. We're going to get into some of the hard-won insights and wisdom from this guest, and really getting into how to navigate Kickstarter, even if you're not outside, if you're outside of the United States, you're not an American, and you're trying to earn trust and get people to back you, and specifically those high ticket backers. This is going to be a transparent look at what it's really like to fund a bold project or idea and using the crowd to do that. So I'm very excited for you to listen to this episode, obviously, but I've been doing this podcast since 2015. It started as a way to share stories that I found to be useful, educational, valuable, or insightful with my audience. Because so many times I would share this story and people wouldn't believe me that this product had raised funding from the crowd or this creator had done it from this background. And that's what I love about this podcast is you can be like a fly on the wall and you can listen to this process of someone else around the world who's been able to actually crush it with their crowdfunding campaign to get something out there and to raise funding from the crowd. I think it's kind of like a cool karmic circle as well, where we have many guests who come on this show who've also been listeners of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. So we're really lucky, I think, to have this show, and we're now getting into the hundreds when it comes to the episodes that we've put out there. If this is something that you've been thinking about for a little bit or a while, you've even done a campaign before, and you kind of want to just understand a little bit of the nuts and bolts behind the process, but more specifically, like what do you have to do from a formulaic angle to absolutely launch this campaign, get funded, and to be able to get on with your life of building a brand, of selling products online, of doing your work full-time, becoming a full-time creator, whatever it is, you're definitely going to want to learn more about the resource that I'm about to mention, which is my book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula. This is the paint by numbers formula where I've broken down and demystified everything when it comes to a crowdfunding campaign launch. I get into the tricks of the trade, the nuts and the bolts, but also some of the tactic tools and techniques you're gonna wanna have at your disposal in order to be successful with crowdfunding. So if you wanna go and check out that book, I got a great paperback and ebook version for the Kickstarter launch formula. I also have a version on Audible. If you, by off chance, enjoy listening to my passionate way of speaking, the way that I also deconstruct large concepts and try to break them down and make them easier to understand, go and check out this Audible version of the book at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. You can also download a free copy of that when you go to the link crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio, because you can download a free trial of Audible and you'll get a free copy of the Kickstarter launch formula at that link, which will also include in the show notes. In addition, I have a free course out there on Kickstarter that walks you through step-by-step how to launch a campaign. And as well, some of the things that most people aren't really talking about when it comes to crowdfunding. Some of the ways you can get backers involved and build momentum, to use social media as a way to catapult this launch and to build a brand from scratch. You got to go and check out this free course at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. I promise you're going to love it at that link, crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. All right, let's get into today's podcast episode and discover how this creative entrepreneur and marketer was able to raise over $84,000 for a high price product. And it's coming up right after this. Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Today we are speaking with a really unique creator who's been able to attract over $85,000 for Keybird L1, the world's smallest acoustic piano coming out of Copenhagen, Denmark. We are lucky enough to speak with the creator here today. For Keybird Instruments. So excited to speak to Maya. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having us. Yes, our name is Keybird Instruments, and we are based in Copenhagen, Denmark. We got familiar with Kickstarter quite recently with our first campaign for the Keybird L1, our smallest piano yet. It's been quite a nice journey, I have to say.
So tell me just a tiny bit about, the really novel piano and acoustic piano you've created here. And just so listeners can understand who aren't seeing it in front of their computer, could you just describe it a tiny bit for them?
Yeah, just in general, our company is kind of focused on creating lightweight pianos. So that's also the main point of the Keybird L1. It is a piano that only has 4 octaves. It has 49 keys, and it's highly portable. It weighs only 39 kilos. So it's basically the idea of an acoustic piano being something grand and very rigid is kind of being broken by our innovation, because the L1 is, as I mentioned, a lightweight acoustic piano that can basically be carried by anyone. And also because of its size, it's 70 centimeters wide, and only less than 120 centimeters high. It's quite adaptable for any space, and it's especially suitable for people who live in small apartments. So, with that angle, we kind of wanted to approach bigger audiences and people who thought that, they could have never had an acoustic piano because they live in a small apartment. Now with the Keybird L1, that's an opportunity for them.
When it comes to this, we don't usually think about like innovation in the world of pianos, but sounds like this is your passion. This is something that you're, consistently innovating on. What kind of drew your attention when it comes to instruments, and how did you get into that line of work?
Well, for the company itself, for example, I'm the person that mostly works with business and marketing. So I'm not on the engineering side of things. That's my boss, Lander. But I think what we all share in the company is passion for pianos and music making. All of us have some kind of a background in music. So one way or another, by being musicians or not being musicians, we just wanted to be close to it. And since we are not musicians ourselves, we kind of went towards innovating in a different way in the field of music. For Lander especially, it was about creating and engineering innovative products, and piano was somehow one of the products that he really wanted to innovate on. And the whole idea was how to make a piano as simple as a guitar. Because a guitar by itself is it's the instrument we think of when we think of the most simple and accessible instrument. That is the guitar. You can tune it yourself. You can take it anywhere with you. And that's something that piano has always been missing, right? And with Keybird, we are trying to kind of bring it closer to the guitar in that sense, if it makes sense.
It looks beautiful and it fits very well in the room. I could see this kind of being in that, almost like people were really into like vinyl music, right? And kind of old school instruments. It looks really cool. So out of curiosity, why choose to do a Kickstarter campaign, or what led to that decision to use Kickstarter to get this out there?
I think it was, we weren't that familiar with Kickstarter also in Europe because we're based in Denmark. In Europe, Kickstarter is not as big of a thing as in the US, I can imagine. So we were quite new to it, but I think we just found it to be a very good testing ground for us also to see if there's demand on the market for this type of a piano. So we were it was kind of a thing where we were thinking, okay, it's kind of risk-free in a way where if you don't get enough backers, it is what it is. But if you do, then you just confirm that there's a need in the market. So for us, it was kind of a testing ground to see whether we can go in production with Keybird L1, and it has proved to be successful, and there is a demand. So yeah, Kickstarter was a good, how can I say, like a little lakmus test for us.
One of the things I think that has kind of gotten lost in the shuffle is we think a lot about like commercial campaigns, and yours has this kind of really authentic touch to it and almost like a personal vibe. What are your thoughts on this idea of having like a personal touch when it comes to your campaign and interacting with your backers?
That's an interesting question because, we don't really think about being too commercially minded in a way where we've always cared about the personal approach, especially also in our communication with our customers. It's always like quite close the way we collaborate with people that actually purchase a Keybird. So it's always kind of been a part of the DNA of the company. I don't think it just kind of came off natural because the whole idea of the piano itself is to be approachable and to be friendly in like different type of spaces and to be easy to work with and kind of I think the design of the product has translated into the DNA of the company and vice versa. So
Right.
it's all about being approachable, friendly, easy to communicate with. So yeah, I think that's just came organically to us.
Do you ever find it to be like a tiny bit scary, to be out there and to be, talking with potential customers? Like, what if someone, says something that you don't like, or what if there's like an issue? Do you ever have that kind of fear, or is it more so like open and transparent kind of dialogue?
I mean, we know we have to be open and transparent in order to gain that trust, but it is sometimes a little bit, because we're such a small company, and there's a lot of risk when, you want to really keep your customers because they're vitally important to your company. It's not like you're a big corporation that can rely on any other sources. So for us, it's just really important to be honest with our customers, but also, we really try to respect their needs and give attention to them as much as we can, because without them, there's no Keybird.
Right.
Yeah,
It looks like you've done a great job as well answering questions. You have a bunch of questions coming in, like being very proactive and just kind of showing up in that way.
Exactly.
In thinking about this, I assume this is your first campaign. What was kind of like going through your mind, or what were you feeling that first or that second week after your launch and you hit your goal? Like, what were you feeling at that point in time?
I think it was, of course, we were very enthusiastic about it, and it was just so nice to see that by actually just being ourselves and keeping the voice of Keybird authentic, we can accomplish getting the campaign finalized in like the 2 weeks, or was it 3? I don't remember, after its launch. But for us, it just meant like, okay, so this authenticity is something that we should maintain, and people like it. And it was just really rewarding to see that people resonated with the idea, and we've gotten so much positive feedback from potential backers and from the actual backers. Just overall really positive.
I think a lot of people, listening to this and thinking about like crowdfunding a piano, right? That's as a pretty large and also an expensive product. I think a lot of people are skeptical that, that could even be done. But you guys, pulled through and you were able to smash through your goal and be successful. Do you have any thoughts on like higher priced products as a marketer? Do they need a different approach? Any thoughts on that?
That's a really good question, because I've been thinking a lot about this since I don't see a lot of products like ours on Kickstarter. It's mostly focused towards, products that are cheaper and easier to finance, and, they don't require so much personal research and investment to back, because, of course, you're buying the piano, you're going to do your research, you're going to do the most you can to justify those, $3,000, etc. I was thinking about this, and I think as I said, especially with this campaign, we understood how important it is to be really close in communication with the backers, with our potential customers, because it's such a high investment that they want to feel like they're heard, their needs are addressed, their questions are answered. So we were really trying to be as tightly knit with in our communication channels as we could.
Right.
So yeah, I think it was just like, when there's something luxurious, you want to have that extra care from the manufacturer to address your personal needs, because it kind of feels like it's not a luxurious item per se, but in terms of like Kickstarter, it is quite like high price for it.
If you're worried about the fulfillment and shipping part of your Kickstarter campaign when it comes to getting out all those perks and rewards to your backers, rest assured I've put together a complete Kickstarter fulfillment and shipping checklist for you, and it's free. This is sponsored by the folks at Fulfillrite, and they thought that you should have this checklist as part of your arsenal going into a crowdfunding campaign. If you want to get instant access to this checklist and it's free, you can go to fulfillrite.com/checklist. Again, that is fulfillrite.com/checklist, fulfillrite.com/checklist. Just go to that link and you can download it immediately. One of the other things that I really noticed just standing out right about your campaign is that you really did a great job of like demonstrating all the functionality and where it fits and how it folds up and like all those different little features and functions. Talk to me about the importance of that, because I think a lot of people kind of have that idea, but it doesn't always get communicated. What are your thoughts on that importance?
I think especially when we were drafting the scenarios for the video, the script for the video, we were thinking a lot about all of the things we have to showcase. So, for example, the portability of it on a bike, in a car, then disassembling the piano in two parts, then showing its range through different piano pieces, and all of that. We really wanted to make sure we cover all the grounds, especially in our promotion video, because I mean it's not an average teaser. It's like 3 minutes long. So you really get a breakdown of the information there, and I think that was the main idea, like showcase everything we can in the video to give like a visual justification of what this piano is. And then in writing, of course, we try to cover as much as we can. But then again, as I say, people would, of course, come up with even more questions and write to us, and we really wanted to make sure to address it, just so it's clear what this product is.
As a marketer and someone who's also championing the brand and really standing for the brand, if you could go back in time and speak to your younger self and give them one bit of advice or a tidbit of knowledge going into the launch, what would you say, if anything, going into that campaign?
It's a good question. I mean, I would certainly write updates even more frequently than we actually have, and post even more frequently, just so people can feel like, okay, the campaign is still going and it's active and things are happening. So there's a little bit more activity, because I think from our side, we put a lot of strain and effort into the initial launch, that then keeping up with the questions and the content, it was a little bit difficult to have like a consistent release schedule for like content. But that's something that I would certainly correct on my behalf. Having a more steady content schedule I think it would attract even more backers. But I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully some other time we would have our fingers on the pulse a little bit more. But I think we mostly focused on actually getting the contact established with backers on a more private matter than actually releasing content. So well
said. A lot of good advice, a lot of good ones there as takeaways. I think a big one is, like you mentioned, just being a little bit planned out, right? And like the content calendar with updates, or as you mentioned, for a higher end purchase, kind of talking with those backers. I think that's a really good point for sure. What was the reaction like at the company, or people around you? I'm sure that like these crazy Americans that are like supporting campaigns, right? What was like the reaction like there?
I mean, it was. We had this. We were wondering like who's going to be the actual like most represented market. What's going to be the most represented market on Kickstarter? And it is the U.S. mostly. It's. I feel like for people in the U.S. it's so much they feel much more trust in the platform. Like they are more keen on investing through Kickstarter, whilst for our European customers that are not so familiar with Kickstarter, we had some hurdles and we had to, do a little bit of encouragement and say, okay, perhaps you're unfamiliar with the platform, but we're here to help you. So it was interesting to kind of have this takeaway of like how different markets interact with Kickstarter in general. But it was lovely to see the enthusiasm from the US customers, especially. It was very positive, very easy.
I would think too, someone who's listening to this and maybe has never even considered doing a campaign, the fact that you can access the US market, that's a really interesting point that I didn't even think about. But also, it seems like people have kind of come all over because you also have backers from Europe, right? You have backers from Canada and Austria and all these other places.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lovely thing to see how the interest spreads out. So yeah, certainly really interesting. But yeah, US customers are most comfortable with Kickstarter, I can see.
So thank you for sharing a lot of great tips and advice. Well, first of all, where can people go to learn more about Keybird and also some of the new products you're coming out with in the future here?
Yeah, you can always visit our webshop, keybird-instruments.com. Or if you're based in Europe, it's .eu, or if you're based in the UK, it's .uk. So we have 3 different storefronts. We have released a new product also recently. It's our limited edition Keybird X1, which is a 69-key piano. So we're really excited to have that one out because that one is entirely produced in Denmark. Soon L1s.
I see that one on the website there. It's black. It looks sleek. Looks really cool.
Oh yeah, that's our standard model actually. That one we've been selling for a while, and we have a lot of customers that are happy with it. So this year we're actually branching out with 2 new models, the L1 and the limited edition. So we're really looking forward to see how people react to them. And now, since the campaign has been successful, with the L1, we're going to go into production. So you can always follow us. We're also on Instagram, Keybird Instruments. There's a lot of exciting stuff.
Awesome. Right. I'll make sure to link that up in the show notes. So I got 2 more questions for you. The first would be, this could be, a bit of advice or word of encouragement. Really, what do you feel like you would tell yourself going into a launch or another creator who's maybe in the musician space or the music space? Are there any other tidbits or words of advice that you would pass on to that person?
Like in general to creators, I would say just be fearless in your ideas and don't think that you cannot accomplish whatever you put your mind to. You would be surprised how well people respond to authenticity and to the pureness of ideas. And this is for anyone who, is either a creative of some sort, musician, an engineer, whatever the expertise is. Just make sure to keep the pureness of your ideas, and people are going to respond to it. In a world where, we're oversaturated with content and products, the authenticity really stands out.
Love that. And my final question for you, and we can end on this note. If you have a quote that you like that someone else has said, a book recommendation, it could be a marketing book or a business book or a book on creator side, or a tool recommendation, one that you have been using a lot that you would recommend for other people.
Oof, it's when you put on the spot with these questions, I never know how to answer. I think I actually don't really have anything in mind, but what I can recommend for anyone who is doing marketing or such things, just make sure to always do, for example, for Kickstarter, make sure to always research other campaigns and don't be afraid to reach out to different creators. All of us are, especially in marketing, people tend to recommend, these 10 steps and hacks and things like that. But in the end, we all are like quite new to the digital era, and we're all trying to figure out algorithms and things as they go. So just following your instinct and talking to other creators, I think, is kind of the key. There's no really golden rule at this point in marketing, I feel.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. And I'll link up everything in the show notes.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. My name is Salvador Briggman. Hopefully you took away some nuggets of gold when it comes to today's episode, some hard-won nuggets of crowdfunding wisdom. And if nothing else, I think just break through those barriers, those limiting beliefs that sometimes hold us back, that we can't raise funding from the crowd, that we can't launch a high-priced product on Kickstarter and be successful, that why does the world need another piano? And I think that today's creator was a great testament to that fact that you should always be innovating and always be putting that creative mind to work. And the fact that you don't even have to be in the United States to be able to be successful with crowdfunding. Now, at the same time, I myself, in different areas of my life, have always encountered barriers, and I recognize the value of not only education, but also handholding and mentorship. If you're going to do something big, like you're going to purchase a business or even purchase a real estate property, you're probably going to get help from a mentor. You're probably going to get help from a guide, a lawyer, someone who can just kind of dot your I's and cross your T's. Make sure you have a strong strategy going into that acquisition, or in the course of a crowdfunding campaign, have a coach on your side to make sure that you're doing the right things going into that launch, that you're employing all the tactics, tools, and strategies to be successful with your crowdfunding campaign. And more importantly, that you're using for your specific case and your specific category and background, the right approach going into that campaign. If that sounds like something that you value and you're ready to invest in that launch, you want to build a strong foundation going into your campaign, you want to dot your I's and cross your T's, make sure to go check out my individual one-on-one coaching call option. These are intensive coaching calls where we go through every element of your campaign. We also get into some feedback as you've been going through this process, really deciding even if you should do crowdfunding, or if there are other platforms out there that are better for you, or more importantly, if you're going with Kickstarter, then what do you got to do in order to dot your I's and cross your T's, but also have your ducks in a row going into that campaign launch. Go and check out that link at crowdcrux.com/coaching and book your one-on-one individual coaching call today at that link, crowdcrux.com/coaching. Come prepared, come with a lot of information when it comes to your launch, and make sure that you fill out the form as well before that call. So I have the most amount of information at my disposal so we can really make some great use of our time at that link, crowdcrux.com/coaching. I promise you, one of the best investments which you're going to make when it comes to building your brand. Thank you so much for listening to this show. Go out there, take some action, take this information, digest it, and move forward when it comes to this area of your life. My name is Salvador Briggman, and I'll see you next week.